Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Trail Talk. I am so glad you could join us today. I'm Edie, and I am live at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center here in Duncan, Oklahoma. We're in our classroom studio today, and this is Mr. Rick Duncan. Mr. Duncan is here as our guest, and you are a bit of a train enthusiast. Would that be a good way to describe you?
That's a good way to explain it.
Okay.
One of the normal terms is rail buff.
Oh, a rail buff. Now that's a new one. I
thing.
haven't heard that before.
I take pictures of trains. I have model trains. I've been interested in railroading most of my life.
Wow. Okay. So are you from Duncan?
No, I'm originally from Central California. I grew up mostly in Fresno, California.
Okay, Fresno. You know, it seems like maybe I hear a little California in your accent still.
Yeah,
Is that
probably
possible?
so.
How long have you been in Duncan?
42 years.
Oh, well, that's really hanging on then, in that if
Yeah.
I can still hear something in there. Like I'm some kind of linguist or something and would pick up on things like that. But okay, so you are from California.
Yes.
And is that when your interest in trains started, when you were a boy there, or was it later?
No, it was primarily when I was a youngster. My father and three grandfathers all worked for Santa Fe Railway. They all retired from there. And that was, I guess, where I basically got my interest in trains. We would go down to my dad's office on Friday night. He worked the afternoon, evening shift, and we'd take him dinner, and I'd sit and look out the window and watch the trains go by.
And I bet as a boy, that was really something.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Was it the sight, the smell, the sound? I mean, like what does it have a certain smell? I'm really associate things with
There
smell.
are odors. In the early days when you had steam, it was a whole lot different than today with the diesels. But mostly it was the sound and just the sights of the trains going by.
So did your said he worked in an office, did your dad or any of your grandfathers work on the train, like travel?
No.
Oh, okay.
I had, my dad was in the communication office. One grandfather worked as in the roundhouse where they repaired the locomotives.
Oh.
Another grandfather was the dispatcher, which tells the trains when and where to run.
Mm-hmm.
And the third grandfather was a train master who was sort of in charge of a certain part of the railroad.
Did all of those relatives live in Fresno? And
No,
okay.
They were in different places.
But was the Santa Fe Railroad like a really big employer of people?
In certain areas.
It just kind of happens that your family worked for the railroad?
My dad grew up in Needles, California, and there it was a primary employer.
Ah,
So,
okay.
And his father was working for the railroad there, and that's how he got.
Did he used to
tied
go to the railroad like you?
I don't
He
think
was a boy?
I don't know that he did that nearly as
Okay.
much as I did.
Uh-huh. So, how different is it from what it's like today? Does the train look different today than it did when you were
Yes.
a boy?
Of course, back then, each railroad had their own passenger service. And Santa Fe had those diesel engines with the red nose and silver on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
And the freight trains were, they started out black and silver, and then they changed to blue and yellow. And they're now Burlington Northern Santa Fe, a big merger, they're all sort of an orange and green color, which I don't care much for those, but
Right.
oh well, train's a train.
Right. So, was that like a primary source of travel?
It was in our early days,
Uh-huh.
back in the early to mid 50s. The highways weren't that good. Automobiles weren't that
Like reliable for a
and,
cross-country kind of trip or whatever?
And we would, my mother came from Winslow, Arizona, And we would travel back to see her parents, and we traveled by train.
I know my mom has talked about traveling by train to different places, around the US, but,
Yes.
and actually, I can remember one time my cousin, lives in El Reno, but she rode a train to Anadarko
Uh-huh.
to come visit us, and we picked her up. We lived in a small town just south of Anadarko. And so that would have probably been in the 70s. That was sometime in the 70s.
Right, after Amtrak took over.
Okay. But I mean, people don't use trains so much for that anymore, do they?
There's still a lot of people that travel by train. It's not as popular as it once was.
Like
One of-
there's still cross-country kind of trips
There
and
are
stuff like that?
cross-country trips. You can travel from the East Coast to the West Coast by train.
Hmm.
Most of the time you have to change trains in Chicago or St. Louis or Kansas City, someplace like that,
Mhm.
or maybe New Orleans,
Right.
but you can travel cross-country. I
Hmm.
know that one of our favorite trips that we've done, we'll drive over to Pauls Valley and take the train down to Fort Worth,
Right.
and then bus over the stockyards, have lunch, do a little shopping, and then train back up to Pauls Valley in the evening.
Nice little day trip.
Nice little day trip.
That sounds kind of fun to do that. And does it kind of, like, do you miss trains, like
Traveling on them,
traveling on them?
pretty much.
Yeah, that's probably a nice way to kind of get that feeling
You
again.
get it back again, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you would go down and hang out with your dad. Were there things that you could collect as a boy that had to do with trains?
There probably were. I didn't really have any collection back then.
Uh-huh.
I do have a collection of of railroad insulators that I inherited from my dad.
Oh,
He
okay.
had the lineman would bring them in when they would change them out. And I've got a pretty good collection of those.
Oh, okay. That's kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Are there other things that are collectible
Oh,
from
yeah.
trains?
There are things they call date nails. It's about a 4-inch spike that they used to put into bridges and also the railroad ties.
Uh-huh.
That would say when that particular piece of timber was put into use. So they would have an idea of when to replace it. Today, all that stuff is tracked by computer.
Right, but that's a pretty smart thing to do because it's right there in the
Right,
wood.
it's right there, and somebody can see, there it is, and
Uh-huh.
they can see it.
That's a smart deal. I love it. I love hearing the innovation that, we take so much for granted today, I think, with all the technology that we have. But I always like hearing the innovation prior to the big technology days, and how would you keep track of,
Yeah,
when these boards were replaced, or railroad ties, I guess, is what you're talking
Right,
about,
the
were
railroad
replaced.
ties,
Yeah. That's really cool. So, you had this interest in trains. What did that lead you to? How did you?
eventually it led me to getting into model railroading, and my wife figured out that I was really interested in model trains. We went to the Arizona State Fair in Phoenix, and they had a big model train display there. And I was busy looking at it. She says, well, I'm going to go over here and look at such and such. And a half hour later, she'd come back and I was still there. She did that the whole night, and I spent the whole night looking at the trains.
Those really big setups, they are pretty
Oh, yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah,
So is that kind of when you started your model
that's
train?
when I started thinking about it. I really didn't start doing a model railroad because we were moving to, well, I was in school at that point, didn't have time to do it.
Mhm.
And, but when we moved to Colorado, there was a spare room in the house where I could build a model railroad. And I got to know there was a model railroad club there.
Mhm.
And I learned quite a bit from them. And that's when I started building my first model railroad.
So, what is that, like, what does that look like? What would I need to do to start building a little model railroad?
Well, you can start with just a flat table like this with a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and you
Okay.
can buy ready-made track and put on there,
Mm-hmm.
and you can buy locomotives and cars. And today's quality is much higher than it was when I started back in the early 70s.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, it's also a little more expensive.
Well,
But
that
that's,
goes.
yeah, it goes without
That
saying.
goes without saying, yeah, that's kind of the world we're living in right now,
Yes.
isn't it? Well, so what I'm thinking about are, like the train goes around and goes into a little town and you put landscape and
Right.
all of those things. How do you learn how to do that and to make it look,
Well,
you know,
there are
somewhat
books,
natural?
there are books that are published on it, and also you learn a lot from your fellow model railroaders. Some people are very good at doing scenery, others are better at laying track or designing track. I learned how to build my own track instead of buying the pre-made stuff when I was in the club in Colorado, and that was pretty much the way when I had my original model railroad. Now today's track it's a lot better, looks a lot more realistic than the old.
Is that why
track
you
is.
would build your own to make it look
Right.
more realistic?
Yes.
Are there like competitions or
There-
things like that?
There are modeling competitions. I'm a member of the Santa Fe Railway Historical and Modeling Society, and every year they have a contest room. There are photographs, there are models of trains, and everybody gets to go in and look at them and vote for the ones they think are the best.
Wow. So like how many entries would typically be there?
Oh, 40 or 50.
Wow.
Now, they're in different categories. You have diesel locomotives, steam locomotives, freight cars, passenger cars, buildings.
Oh
that
my
kind of
goodness.
lot of different categories.
And are they 4x8 or are they?
No, they're generally just a building by itself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And-
So they
and-
don't put up the whole track. In
No,
my
no.
mind, I was thinking, wow, what an undertaking to move your whole
Oh, no.
big thing to a competition like, okay, so they don't do that.
Well, if you go to the first weekend in December every year up in Oklahoma City, there is a train show, and they do have what they call modular layouts.
Uh-huh.
Each piece is about 4 feet long, maybe two or 3 feet wide. And they put all those together and build a big layout for display for people to see trains running.
Oh, that's
So
really
there is a
fun.
way to do that. And each person brings 1 or 2 pieces,
Uh-huh.
and they put them all together, and you've got a great big one,
Oh.
bigger
and-
than you could have in your house.
Right, right. Well, now, how many summers ago was that, Bailey? Or do you remember that we had the trains in this
It
room?
was 4 or 5.
It was, I think, about five years ago.
About 5 years
and
ago,
those-
wow.
Those were my trains.
I was
that were
thinking
here.
that was like 2 or 3 years ago.
No,
Woo, I lost some years.
No, it
Okay,
was- it
about,
was-
well, that would make sense. 2 or 3 years ago, I forgot COVID.
yeah.
Um,
We lost a couple of years.
Yeah, so yeah, and those seem big. That seems
Those were the-
really big to me.
Those are the large Lionel trains. And
Okay,
that's what my model railroad is today at home.
so you have one set up all the time?
Yes. I have a building in the backyard that's big enough that I can have a layout in it all the time. I'm still working on it.
Like just adding things
Adding
or
things
making changes
yeah.
or whatever?
Oh, I'm
Just
still
to put-
working on the basic layout.
Oh, is
I
that
just
right?
started on it a couple of years ago.
And how big is it?
It's about 17 by 12.
Oh my, how big were the ones that were here?
Let's see, there were 2 4x8 sheets, so it was 16 feet long and 4 feet wide.
17 by 12. That is pretty massive.
Well, you have to walk into it. You don't, it's not just one big flat.
Right, yeah. There's no
So-
way you could get to the middle to
Right, Exactly.
do what you have to do in there. How do you go about that?
Well, it's just, it's narrow enough I can reach
Oh,
over
okay.
into the
okay.
edges, except
Uh-huh.
along one wall. And I've made it sturdy enough, I can crawl up on there if I need to.
Now that, I kind of wish we were there to see this thing in the process. I think that would be really interesting. So when you started on this one, what was step one? What is the first thing you do? How do you prep that plywood?
Well, the first thing I did was draw a plan, decide what I
Okay,
wanted to do.
right.
And then once I did that, I went to the lumber yard and I said, this, I looked at what I had, and then I says, well, I need this much more. And basically the plywood, a lot of people painted all green. I decided this time it's sort of a light gray color, or maybe a medium gray color.
Okay. What made you want to do that?
Just to be different.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I just thought maybe it was more of a city kind of thing as opposed to a country
Yeah,
setting or
this is
something.
probably more industrial.
Okay, industrial, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
So
can,
city type thing,
mhm,
yeah.
yeah, gray seems like, so you paint that. Now, I need to go a step back. So when you are drawing this, you have to draw it to scale.
Oh, no, not really. I did draw the outline of the wood to scale, but basically I just sketched where the track was going to go.
Oh, okay.
Just a loose sketch, because things change as you put the track down. You think, well, this isn't going to work like I thought it would.
Mhm,
And there were several changes made as I went along.
mhm. And so will this hold just one train?
It's got 2 loops of track. I can run 2 trains at the same time.
Okay, interesting. Do you have like one of those little things where like
Switches.
switches? Yeah.
So
you
I can go between the 2 loops.
Uh-huh.
And then I've got sidings where I can have things like a cattle car that the cows run in and out of, a milk car that unloads the milk.
Mm-hmm.
I've got coal dumping and loading facilities.
Oh, wow.
So
How fun.
it is a lot.
This is like a dollhouse kind of thing, but for guys.
There you go.
You know, where I mean, not that girls wouldn't like it too, but I'm just thinking about me playing with like little dolls and putting little chairs and putting all those things. But this seems like, I mean, with your interest in all the trains and building the big industrial thing, I mean, how fun.
It's been a lot of fun. And during the COVID thing, when we couldn't travel, it gave me lots of time to work on it.
Oh, right, exactly. So where do you have to order all your things online?
I either go online to order them. There is a train store in Oklahoma City. And when we travel, I try to find train stores, see if they've got something that
Different.
that I don't have in my collection.
Mm-hmm. Are there regional things that different stores have? You know what I mean?
Yeah, stores on the East Coast generally have stuff that's related to the East Coast railroads, and likewise on the West Coast.
Okay.
So it is regionalized a little bit, but you'll find a lot of things in places you wouldn't expect them.
Do you ever see something that's not necessarily for a train, but you think, oh, that might work. That might be a really fun thing to add. I mean, do you kind of feel like you have freedom to do stuff like that?
Sure. You know, if I see a building that's looks like it might go with the railroad or something like that, I might get it.
Yeah. Do you put little people and stuff on your?
I haven't
tracks?
yet, but I can.
Well, not on the tracks.
But not on the
That
tracks,
would be
no.
a bad idea.
No, stay off the tracks, especially the real ones.
Yes, for sure. But you buy people or animals, things
Right.
like that, like the cattle cars. Do you have cattle
Oh,
for
yes.
that?
And my wife collects cows, so I've got a cattle train for her.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That's fun. So does that having an interest in the trains, does it kind of pull you into interest with travel, or just like historically thinking about traveling or hauling freight or things like that? Is it kind of
One of the trips we took shortly after I retired, we went to the East Coast and we stopped at several tourist railroads on the way to visit those. They were ones that I'd read about, but I'd never seen before. And
I bet that would be a really fun and interesting way to travel.
It
Go
is.
stop and visit those kinds of things.
it was a very interesting thing. And there are a lot of railroad museums all over the country. Some are specific to the area that they're in.
I've been to the one in Pauls Valley.
Yeah,
And that one, I mean, they have pictures from high school, high school graduates or athletes and things like that in there. So it's very specific
Right.
in that way. But even the 905 museum, now does that have things that are specific to Duncan?
it has some things that are specific to Duncan. It has a lot of stuff that's been donated that comes from all over, because we've got, Duncan has drawn people in from all over the country.
Right.
And we have a lot of things there. And by the way, they're getting ready to reopen. They're going to open on June 2nd.
Oh, wow.
They'll be open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 1 to 4.
Very nice. They've been closed for a while.
Yes.
A while. Oh, that is such great news. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 1 to 4.
1 to 4, yes.
Very
And
good.
the first day they'll be open is June 2nd.
That's really great. That's just next week. That's a
That's
week
next
from
week.
today.
That's a week from today. That's right.
You heard it here first, people. 1 week from today, the 905 Museum is back in business. So that was, I just remember when that was being, I guess the push to preserve that engine.
Keep that locomotive.
Keep
yes.
that, and then the museum was added and everything. Did you have any part in that sort of, that getting
I
going?
was involved in that in the early days. I was still working then, so I could only do things on weekends, but I helped them as much as I could.
And what kind of a process was that? I mean, like who owned the engine?
Oh, the engine belongs to the city of Duncan,
And it still does?
and it still does. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, once we built the building, we deeded that over to the city of Duncan also.
Okay.
It was built primarily with donated funds.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask next, because I was curious how that came about, and how is that how the funding to preserve? And I mean,
Yes.
I feel like the engine was kind of gussied up a little bit too.
Well, we've done a lot of cleaning on it. We
Uh-huh.
still have a long ways to go. We took it apart to start cleaning and getting the rust off. And
Mhm.
we've still got a long ways to go to get it back together. The cab, the locomotive cab where the engineer and fireman would work, it's been pretty much cleaned up and it's in pretty good shape. The exterior, it still needs work. And if we can get volunteers to help us, that would be great.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure that is. So would you have to have a special skill set? Or could you just, here's what you need,
Yeah,
go clean?
yeah, exactly. If you can handle a paintbrush, we can use you.
Oh, there you go, Bailey. I think Bailey can handle a paintbrush.
Okay, good.
So, in all of your years of enjoying trains and riding on trains, the restoration project here in town, and just all of, I guess you're probably maybe a student of trains too. I guess, have you
Pretty much.
studied a
I've
lot?
got quite a library of train books.
Oh, I figured. You probably did.
Mostly having to do with Santa Fe Railway, since
Uh-huh.
that was my history.
So back then, how many different railways were there?
Oh,
or I guess railway companies. Would that be the right?
I don't have a clue.
Oh,
There were
okay.
Probably, including the short local lines, probably well over 100 across the country.
Wow,
I
wow.
would have to do some research to find that out.
But now, is it all kind of reduced to just
Well,
one?
there are still, no, there are, well, and the passenger service is only Amtrak, and they are
Strictly,
strictly, they run on, except on the East Coast, they run on other railroads' tracks.
okay.
They have to pay the fees, but as far as the freight railroads, you've got about, let's see, 4 or 5 major ones, and then like here in Oklahoma, we've got a couple of local ones. I understand that Farm Rail is about to be sold.
Oh, really? I did a agricultural trail talk
Uh-huh.
a while back and learned about that farm rail.
Yeah, they're out in western Oklahoma primarily. And but there are other short, what we call short lines. They basically operate within just 100 miles or less.
Okay, okay. Like we went to Washington DC not long ago, and even our daughter lived in Chicago, in Chicago, and then she moved to DC. And you know, you ride trains a lot there, not just the underground,
Yeah,
but
not the subway.
you know,
not-
like even if you fly to DC, if you fly into Baltimore, we take the train
into downtown
into
DC.
DC,
Yes.
yeah, and to Union Station. And it's always kind of awesome to me to go to Union Station in one of those cities
Yeah.
and see
Washington
all of
DC,
that.
Union Station is well preserved and
Oh,
restored.
yes, it
It's very
is.
nice.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful inside. It really is. There's kind of a squeaky escalator outside.
Okay, I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty squeaky and takes you down underneath. You kind of get on, anyway, yeah, it's kind of squeaky. But aside from that, I mean, you know, but modern shopping and eating
Yes.
places. And then we were there one time and it was set up for a wedding. You know, they had tables with white tablecloths everywhere, you know, and it was all, and someone was getting married at the Union Station there and having the reception and everything. It was quite
Well,
It's quite beautiful.
the Kansas City Union Station, downtown Kansas City, was closed for years. Amtrak pulled up at one side of it, you could get on there, and that was about it. Well, they've reopened it, they refurbished it, reopened it, and it's basically a large shopping mall.
Interesting.
But the exterior of it looks the same as it always did.
I really like to see that preservation. Chicago's is very pretty inside too. They've got it fixed up just really nicely. It's all the old the marble
Right.
and everything that they used to kind of a Gothic architectural design in there, and it's just really neat it feels very historical. I never really, I don't know, I don't think about people riding trains, I guess because Amtrak and the passenger trains of old are different. You know,
Yes.
like one of our favorite movies is White Christmas, and there's the whole thing where they're in the train and the girls are in the sleeping car.
Oh, yeah.
And they have to go to the dining car, and just I don't know, it just seems magical to me that it would just be all so beautiful and practical and just a kind of a hotel on wheels,
Yes.
and I don't know.
Well, some of the passenger trains still do have sleeping accommodations.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, and the dining cars aren't the same as they used to be. I'm not going to say any more than that about them. But I know my favorite breakfast when I was a kid on the train was always the French toast.
Oh, yeah. So you can't get a good French toast on the trains these days?
I don't know,
Oh, okay.
but I have the recipe.
You have the original
I have
Santa
the
Fe?
yes,
Or is that
it's been
right?
published in a cookbook.
Wow.
So
Interesting. So is it like a railroad dining car cookbook or something?
That's exactly what it is.
Well, I'll be.
Fred Harvey cookbook or something like that.
I am a bit of a cookbook fanatic. I read them like books, like a novel or something. I love to get a cookbook and just read and imagine what it smells like and tastes like and everything, you know. That's for another trail talk. So at any rate, so you've ridden trains and studied trains and make model trains and all of those things. What is it about trains that just makes you so enjoy them so much? What do you think it is?
I'm not really sure. I guess just growing up around the trains is what drew me in and has kept me there my whole life.
Probably, maybe it helps you feel a little connection to your
my
dad,
family,
your
my family
grandfathers.
histories.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. That's really nice. So if I wanted to get into model trains, what would you recommend? Like, what are the first like three important things I would need to do if I wanted to become involved in model trains?
Well, the first thing I think I would say is get to know people who do model railroading.
Okay.
Come out and visit our local club.
Okay, so there's a club here
There is
in
a local
Duncan.
club here in Duncan.
And how would someone find out about that? Is there a Facebook page?
We have a Facebook page.
Okay,
And we're there on North Fifth Street almost every Friday night around 7 o'clock.
on North Fifth Street.
We just
Is
had
there
an
a-
open house in late April,
Oh, okay, so just recently.
just recently.
And is it labeled outside
No.
or on, how would someone know what?
You'd have to know where we are. We don't
Okay.
advertise it.
I see. So how would they contact you if someone was interested? Would they, like, can they
They can,
do something on the Facebook page?
on the Facebook page,
What is that called? The Facebook page exactly?
Southwest Oklahoma Railroad Association. I
Okay.
believe it is,
All right,
something
we'll
like
put
that.
we'll add that link in our comments on this.
Okay.
So people, if any of the viewers are interested, or maybe
Sure.
they have a young child in their family who shows interest, that might be kind of fun.
We'd like to have some new members. We've lost a lot of people from moving away, and a lot of us are getting old, unfortunately. We need some younger members.
You know, I find it, I mean, I know there's a million things for kids to do. They have a million options, but so many people that I talk to who are involved with an organization, like we're talking about, it's finding a younger group of people to join so that you know someone's going to carry it on.
Right, exactly.
Because it's important. I mean, it's important to our history and just to keep that enthusiasm alive, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so find a local club, and in the case here in Duncan on Facebook.
You're right.
Okay, and then what would you do?
Let's see. I guess think about whether you want larger trains or smaller trains. I used to do what they call HO, which is a scale of roughly 1 to 1/87 of real size. I now do Lionel, which is closer to 1/148 of scale of real size.
Okay.
They're
so-
larger and I can see them better.
Listen, I hear that. Bifocals are my friend.
Yeah.
I
But
will
I,
let you know, one of our viewers commented fairly early on in the show that they have a major model trains HO scale in their house. And her husband is a rail fan and modeler.
Oh,
Exactly.
really? Well, awesome. We're so glad you're watching.
yes, thank you.
That's fun. You might do you live in the Duncan area? That might be interesting to know. We'd like to know if you're still on the air about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of have to decide, or would you just talking to people and
Well,
maybe
you come
checking
out,
them out?
Yeah, just
Go
look
to
at the
the-
various sizes
Mhm.
and then I started out, well, my first train set was in 1950, was a Marx, and they not even in business anymore. And it was about the size of Lionel, just not quite the quality, but still a good train set
Mhm.
and not terribly expensive.
Right.
That was where I started, but that was a long time ago. 72 years ago, yeah.
That was a little while. That's a
So
ways back.
anyway, but when I got into doing serious model railroading, I went to HO scale and did that for several years. I had a layout in my building in the backyard, and then about 5 years ago, decided that needed to go away because I had a sizable collection of Lionel, and I wanted to do something besides let it sit on the shelf.
Right. So are there people, like if you wanted to get rid of some of the things, is there interest where people will buy those things
Sure.
from you?
Oh, yeah. The Oklahoma City Train Show, they have tables where people can set up and sell stuff. I mean, you pay a fee for the table, obviously,
Right.
but
There are people out there though who
Right.
would, like if you had some of those things that who might be interested in
Right.
purchasing some of those. That's good to know too. That's interesting. Well, I feel like we have I personally have learned a lot
well, good.
about all of the model trains thing. It seems like it'd be really fun, just a really fun activity.
For some of us, it is.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and so when you guys meet on Fridays, do you just kind of work, do you have like a community thing that you're working on?
Right,
or
we
does-
have a large layout. However, in the summertime, the air conditioning is not where that large layout is, so we don't do too much work on it.
Oh, right.
It's too hot, but we have some smaller layouts back in the air conditioned area, but summertime, we just talk more about what we're going to be doing. We're starting to think about another open house for this fall.
Very nice.
Don't have a date yet,
Uh-huh.
probably sometime in September, October,
Right.
and we will get it posted hopefully in the newspaper.
Yeah,
Things
and
like
maybe on
that.
that Facebook page.
It will be on the Facebook page.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's great. And I'm so excited to know, and for the viewers to know about the club here in town and the opportunity to, especially someone who would be new, to really pick the brains of
Yes.
those of you who have been involved for a long time and just learn like you said you did in Colorado.
Yeah,
I love it that you turn around and pass it on just like that. That's great. Well, Mr. Duncan, thank you for being our guest today on Trail
you're
Talk.
very welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, this was
And
really
I
good.
hope that I've helped to stir up a little bit of interest in railroading, both model and rail fanning.
Absolutely, same. Well, whenever we sign off, we always say happy trails. Okay.
Happy trains to you.
Oh, happy trains. That's a good one. Well, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Happy
Happy
trails.